Mikel Arteta faces transfer questions as Arsenal's narrow win over Manchester United raises title concerns. Arsenal edged past Manchester United in a tense encounter at Old Trafford, but the performance left fans and pundits questioning their Premier League title credentials. Sometimes, if you can't win with style, just win, period. That's a mantra many Arsenal supporters, myself included, repeat during matches like this. These are the kinds of games the Gunners would have lost last season. A scrappy 1-0 victory at Old Trafford? In past years, that simply wouldn't have happened. Arsenal didn't dominate with the ball. Far from it. Arteta's side looked rusty and disjointed, but somehow managed to grind out the 3 points. Another narrow win. Another step forward. But it didn't come without concern. When the fixture list dropped, Arsenal's early schedule had some fans and experts ruling them out as serious contenders right off the bat. Watching Manchester City and Liverpool score 4 goals each on opening weekend didn't help the mood. But had Arsenal dropped points at a ground where they historically struggle, the doubts would have only grown louder. Instead, Riccardo Calafiori made the difference. Arteta faced a key decision before kickoff: start the new Italian signing or trust the young Miles Lewis-Skelly. Interestingly, despite having started Jurrien Timber at left-back in pre-season, Arteta rotated him on the right instead. Thankfully, another set-piece proved decisive, with credit going to Nicolas Jova for his planning, and perhaps a bit of criticism to United's goalkeeper, Altay Bayindir, who completely misjudged the cross. Despite taking the lead, Arsenal never really took control. After the game, I asked Arteta about the chaotic nature of play. So many turnovers, so many open chances. His reply was telling. He compared the match to a game of basketball. As you could see, there were 7 or 8 moments where the ball was completely free, and we were on the break, he said. We're one pass away from attacking the goalkeeper, and then we lose it. And suddenly, it's basketball. And you don't want a basketball game against a team that's that good in transition. He's right. Games like this demand mental sharpness. One slip, one lapse, and you're punished. In the end, it was a nervy affair. But big players step up when it matters, and David Raya did just that. It's no surprise the Arsenal keeper has claimed the Golden Glove for 2 straight seasons, sharing one with Matt Sales. His saves, particularly from Matheus Cunha in the first half and Brian Bumo in the second, were game-changing. But let's not ignore the issue Arteta mentioned. The front line lacked spark. It lacked threat. Gabriel Martinelli, to put it bluntly, had a nightmare. Wasteful in key moments, weak in his finishing, and hesitant in decision-making, he looked far from his best. No wonder fans are calling for a new left winger before the window closes. Noni Madueke came on late to replace the Brazilian but didn't impress defensively either. Even Bukayo Saka seemed a step off the pace. Victor Gyökeres was barely involved, and if Arsenal are to get the most out of the Swedish striker, they'll need to tailor their game more to his strengths. Still, a win is a win. And when you win, the flaws feel less alarming. There's time to fix things. The next test is against Leeds United at the Emirates, a match where Arsenal should see more of the ball and have a better platform to bring out the best in their new signings. Martin Zubimendi looks well suited for these types of matches. He had shaky moments in this chaotic game but still offered solid defensive coverage and some clever passes. Arteta made 5 substitutions, worth nearly £180 million combined, including academy product Miles Lewis-Skelly. Squad depth like that could make all the difference this season. Declan Rice was subbed early to rest after an intense shift, and that's a luxury Arsenal didn't have in years past. With 3 points in the bag and the title race already tight, the Gunners are level with their top rivals, and the transfer window is still open. For now, Football.London understands the club is focused on outgoings. But with Eberechi Eze waving to Crystal Palace fans like it might be goodbye, North London eyes are watching. Eagles boss Oliver Glasner may have his say, but the interest is real. Who Arsenal turns to next remains to be seen. The only question now: can sporting director Andrea Berta deliver the next game-changing move, like Calafiori did on the pitch? Still, even as Arsenal celebrated a hard-earned 3 points, the mood wasn't entirely triumphant. Behind the scenes, questions continue to circle around the direction of the squad, the strength of the title push, and, most pressingly, whether Mikel Arteta will be backed again before the transfer window closes. Inside the club, there's a growing awareness that the margin for error is razor-thin this season. Manchester City and Liverpool both look sharp early on, and with Chelsea and Tottenham also reinforcing aggressively, Arsenal can't afford to fall behind. That's why the victory at Old Trafford, though valuable, sparked more strategic reflection than celebration. There's an understanding that performances like that won't consistently yield results over the long season, especially in Europe, where Arsenal will face more tactically rigid opponents. From a fan perspective, there's a growing sense of urgency. Social media lit up after the match with calls for reinforcements, particularly in wide areas and up front. Gabriel Martinelli's paw showing only reinforced concerns that Arsenal lack reliable depth on the flanks. Noni Madueke didn't do enough to quiet those worries, and fans are starting to grow impatient with the lack of movement in those positions. One name being mentioned with increasing frequency is Eberechi Eze, whose potential farewell gesture to Palace supporters didn't go unnoticed. Eze could bring the creativity and unpredictability Arsenal currently lack in the final third, particularly against deep, compact defences. Internally, however, the club is said to be prioritising departures before making another major move. Several players are on the chopping block, including fringe attackers and midfielders who haven't made an impact under Arteta. Fabio Vieira, for example, remains a player of interest abroad, while Emile Smith-Rowe's future remains in limbo. A loan or sale could be the key to unlocking funds and squad space for a final push. There are also whispers surrounding Andrea Berta's increasing involvement. The Atletico Madrid director, recently linked to Arsenal in a possible consultancy role, is believed to be advising the club's recruitment team. His input could be crucial in securing a late window signing, particularly if a European talent like Serhou Guirassy or Nico Williams becomes available at a viable price. Meanwhile, Mikel Arteta's post-match comments hinted at a coach fully aware of the gaps in his team, but determined to work with what he has, at least for now. "I'm proud of the resilience we showed," he said. "But we need to be more ruthless, more consistent in our execution. These games demand focus, but also control. That's what we're aiming to build." The next few matches will be telling. Arsenal faces Leeds United next, a game that, on paper, should allow them to dominate possession and test new tactical setups. After that, tougher fixtures loom, including a London derby and an early Champions League group match. By then, the window will be closed, and Arsenal's squad, for better or worse, will be set. The pressure is now on the club's leadership to ensure this team doesn't just survive the title race, but thrives in it. Because in a season where every point could matter, the decisions made in the next 2 weeks may shape Arsenal's destiny for the rest of the campaign. Martin Zubimendi quietly stole the show with a midfield masterclass against Manchester United. While Sky Sports crowned David Raya as their player of the match after Arsenal's tense win over Manchester United, there was another unsung hero in red and white, one who quietly pulled the strings in midfield and left a lasting impact without needing the spotlight. All eyes may have been on Victor Gyökeres, the marquee summer signing, but it was Martin Zubimendi who delivered a performance that, while subtle, was nothing short of masterful. At first glance, you might not have noticed just how influential the Spanish midfielder was. He's not the kind of player who thrives on flashy moments or highlight reels. Instead, Zubimendi operates in the shadows, cleaning up danger, dictating tempo, and stitching the team together when things start to fall apart. In fact, when you take a closer look, Zubimendi was at the heart of almost everything positive for Arsenal in midfield. According to Football.London's analysis, 5 of Arsenal's 12 regained possessions and transitions stemmed directly from Zubimendi's intelligent interventions. His sharp positioning, perfectly timed interceptions, crisp progressive passes, and aerial duels disrupted Manchester United's rhythm time and time again. Fans already caught a glimpse of his value in pre-season, particularly during his standout performance against Athletic Club, where he created the chance that led to Gyökeres' debut goal. But this match at Old Trafford, on a big stage, under pressure, was his true arrival. Interestingly, Arteta described the match as resembling a game of basketball, with both teams struggling to build consistent attacking phases. It's not the kind of chaotic setting Zubimendi typically thrives in. He's a player who prefers control, structure, and possession-based football. And yet, he adapted, and that's what made his performance so impressive. Adaptability has always been the biggest question mark around Zubimendi's transition to English football. The Premier League is faster, more physical, and far more relentless than La Liga. But Arsenal didn't just sign a technician, they signed a competitor. And we've seen glimpses of that before, most notably when he stepped up for Spain in the Euro final, filling in for Rodri and helping La Roja secure their 3rd title. Against United, Zubimendi completed 4 successful tackles, recovered possession 5 times, and quietly outshone most of his midfield peers. Only Martin Degaard, whose defensive work rate was one of the few bright spots in a somewhat muted attacking performance, had more recoveries, with 7. Add Declan Rice into that equation, and Arsenal now boasts a midfield trio that can withstand pressure, dominate second balls, and build from deep with confidence. And that's where the optimism lies. Arsenal already have what many would argue is the best centre-back pairing in the league. Now, with a midfield anchored by Zubimendi, Rice, and Odegaard, they have a foundation that's both technically sound and defensively secure. If Arteta can get the attacking chemistry right, if the wide players regain form and Gyökeres starts firing consistently, this squad could be frightening. This season, for Mikel Arteta, it's about more than just progress. It's about silverware. And in Martin Zubimendi, he may have found the player to quietly elevate Arsenal to the next level. He may not make headlines every week, but make no mistake, he's already rewriting the story of Arsenal's midfield. And perhaps that's what makes Zubimendi's performance even more impressive. It came in the kind of chaotic match where most midfielders drown under pressure. But instead of being overwhelmed, he adapted, stayed composed, and delivered exactly what Arteta needed, calm in the storm. Behind the scenes at Arsenal, there's a growing belief that Zubimendi may be one of the most important signings of the Arteta era, not just because of his talent, but because of what he allows others around him to do. Declan Rice, for instance, has been free to push higher up the pitch, confident that someone like Zubimendi can hold things together behind him. Martin Odegaard, too, has more license to float between the lines, knowing that there's a steady hand keeping the balance. And the ripple effects are already visible. Arsenal's defensive transitions have improved. Their control in central areas is sharper. Even when the team is under sustained pressure, there's a quiet confidence, because Zubimendi rarely loses his shape or his head. That sense of composure is something Arsenal has often lacked in past seasons. Too often, their midfield was exposed in big games, especially away from home. But Zubimendi brings something different, a tactical maturity that belies his age, and a positional intelligence that's rare in today's game. It's no coincidence that top clubs like Barcelona and Bayern Munich had been monitoring him for months before Arsenal secured his signature. But it was Arteta who made the convincing pitch, not with promises of stardom, but with a vision of how Zubimendi could be the glue holding together a title-challenging team. Now, with just a few competitive matches under his belt, fans are starting to see the vision too. The reaction on social media has shifted from curiosity to admiration. Analysts are already highlighting his touches, movements, and defensive reads in match breakdowns. Former players, like Cesc Fabregas and Michael Carrick, have praised his reading of the game and ability to dictate tempo without needing to dominate possession stats. In the media, Zubimendi's performance has sparked fresh conversations about the evolution of Arsenal's midfield identity. Gone are the days of lightweight creativity without structure. Now, this is a midfield built for control, for structure, for resilience. A midfield that can win battles in the trenches and still play beautiful football when space opens up. Still, for all the praise, Arteta is keeping his feet on the ground. In a recent interview, he acknowledged Zubimendi's impact but urged patience. He's adapting very quickly. But we have to give him space to grow. It's a long season. What matters is consistency. And consistency will be key. Arsenal has a challenging run of fixtures ahead, including crucial Champions League group matches and a derby clash with Spurs. Zubimendi will be tested in very different environments, and if he continues to rise to the occasion, his value will only grow. More importantly, his presence gives Arsenal a crucial edge, tactical flexibility. Whether it's shifting into a back three in possession, covering for an overlapping fullback, or dictating the rhythm in a tight midfield battle, Zubimendi offers solutions. Quietly, efficiently, and without the need for applause. For now, he may not be the headline act, but ask anyone truly watching the game, and they'll tell you, Zubimendi is one of the biggest reasons Arsenal's engine is starting to hum. The only question left is, can the rest of the squad rise to his level? Because if they do, this might not just be a season of hope for Arsenal. It could be the beginning of something truly special.